On today's Locked On Thunder podcast, SGA wins his first MVP award. Well deserved, as the foul discourse gets a bit out of hand.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, media member and beat writer for Thunder on SI, Rylan Stiles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LO Thunderpod. On today's show, we're diving into SGA winning the MVP award. The foul discourse around Shai, around the Thunder, is not just wrong, but it's entirely disingenuous and it's entirely tired. Adjustments for Game 2, as well as Matt Moore's bold take on the Western Conference Finals. That's all on today's show, brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. It was finally announced by the NBA today, what we came to expect as the polling numbers came in. SGA won the Most Valuable Player award, his first MVP, the Thunder's third MVP in 12 years. The only team that's ever done that had a 12-year span with 3 MVPs, especially 3 different players winning the MVP, with Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, and of course, SGA now. And it was not a close vote. It was a landslide, 71-29. Shai and Jokic were the two that had first place votes, rightfully so. And this was just an amazing season for SGA. It was an amazing season for Nikola Jokic. And really, when you look at the season that Shai had, it will go down as one of the best scoring seasons a guard's ever had when you look at the efficiency. Only Michael Jordan has put up this season. When you look at the points, the assists, and the efficiency, it's only been Michael Jordan. Like, that's how special what Shai did this season and how special it was. He led the league in points, and if you take away all of his fourth quarter points, he would have been second in the NBA for scoring, because he did his work in 3 quarters as teams were blowing out. The Thunder were blowing out teams on their way to 68 wins, and I think that can get lost too in all of this MVP stuff for Shai. Is that they won 68 games. They were expected to be good. They were the 1 seed last year. They made great offseason moves. A lot of people predicted that they would hit that 60-win mark, that they would be the top seed in the West. But if I take you back to November 10th, after Chet broke his hip, this was not expected to be one of just 7 teams who have hit the 68-plus win mark. And especially when you factor in that it's not just Chet who missed time. Alex Caruso missed significant time. Isaiah Hartenstein missed significant time. JDub missed time sprinkled in, like J. Will and Kenrich Williams as well. Like, there's so many obstacles in this Thunder team's way that did not hinder them from such a successful season, the best record in the league, the best point differential ever for a team in the NBA, the best cross-conference record in the NBA, and it's all stemming from what Shai does as the head of the snake. And he had a great individual season as well, averaging 32.7 points, 5 rebounds, 6.4 assists, 1.7 steals, and a block per game, while shooting 52% from the floor, 51.9 if you want to be technical, 37% from beyond the arc, and 89% at the free throw line. This is a well-deserved honor. This is what's supposed to happen through the course of NBA history. I will say, I still think that Jokic is the best player in the world. I still think that Jokic had a great season. I do not bemoan any of the 29 people who voted for Jokic to win this honor. My thing was the precedent that we've set as a league of, we've never just continuously handed the MVP award to the best player in the world. Like, that's why MJ and LeBron do not have every single MVP ever created. That's why, it would be foolish, in my opinion, to have Jokic have the MVP and bring him that mark to MJ and bring him that mark to LeBron, because we've just never done it that way. And again, if a 68-win season and one of the best, most efficient scoring seasons we've ever seen from a guard isn't enough to dethrone Jokic, then it never would have been enough. You would have always had to give the MVP award to Jokic because he's always going to have a triple-double, and he's always going to pull a Nuggets roster that you look at and say, how'd they win 50 games? He's always going to do that. He'll do that again next year and the year after that and the year after that. This was a special season from SGA, and it was a special day. I mean, to see him be named MVP, to go to his MVP press conference was special. He bought his teammates Rolexes, which was a courtesy of J-Will, who last year, whenever they were joking around on the bus, Shai said that his teammates were asking him what he was going to do for them as he won the MVP award. And it was kind of J-Will that spearheaded that. And he gets the whole team Rolexes. This was an amazing press conference where Shai was super raw and emotional and insightful and overwhelmed. And he was really, I think that the word could be liberated up there. He had his guard down. He was transparent in talking about his journey and talking about his support system, with the organization and with his home life. And credit to him because he did cry whenever he was talking about his wife Haley, and that was awesome to kind of see that side of him. But he did recover and made a great speech and answered the questions very well. I asked him about Mark, and he called Mark insane and went on about how Mark has helped him get to this spot, which is impressive for Mark, I think, because you've seen Shai play for legendary coaches already, both in this league and, of course, in college. And so for Mark to be sharing that moment with him as they both were laughing, that was fun. Just the entire day for Shai was great, obviously, to get your first MVP, but just the genuine nature of that press conference, you can go back and watch on YouTube, on the Thunder's official YouTube channel. I would recommend every Thunder fan, at least, to go do that and hear from the MVP himself, because it was a great experience to be there. Obviously, all of you are a part of that as well. Without the boost in the old platform, these are some of the doors that open. So I appreciate you all listening because that was great to be at. But Shai winning MVP, again, you can only compare the season to MJ, in terms of the statistics, and he is at worst a top 3 player in the world. I think that he's the second best player in the world behind Jokic. You can put him first if you want to. Obviously, he's the best player this season because he's won MVP, and he's doing it in a way that isn't just individual driven. He's obviously a great individual player, but it's making his teammates better. It's creating an environment to allow for Chet and for JDub to grow. And, you can think back to prior MVPs, the shadow that they cast, the play style that they have oftentimes is not nurturing to young players. And the fact that this is the second youngest team in NBA history to get a number 1 seed, only behind last year's number 1 team, where Shai was also an MVP talks. He was the runner-up for the MVP award, kind of on the opposite end of this voting margin a year ago, where it was just him and Jokic again last year. It just shows that his play style is not deductive from other players. It's additive to other players, on top of it being just an insanely great formula for this team to win. They won 68 games. They've won 2 playoff series now, and they're up 1-0 in the Western Conference Finals. We don't know how the Western Conference Finals will end. We don't know where this season ends for Oklahoma City, but this was certainly a special season for Shai and a great developmental story for his individual sake. And we've had a lot of these, right? Giannis is a great developmental MVP. Jokic, of course, is a great developmental MVP as a second round guy, but Shai was also this, kind of overlooked lottery pick, went to the Clippers, then was thrown into the Paul George trade as the staple of that trade, along with the draft picks that the Clippers had. But the draft picks overshadowed, on the initial night that the Thunder traded for Shai, the draft picks overshadowed Shai himself. And now you see what he's blossomed into, and he's kind of had this gradual growth of, borderline all-star. Okay, is this kind of who he is? He could be an all-star a couple times. That'd be cool. To solidified all-star starter, to MVP talks, to MVP runner-up, to actual MVP. And each season through his career so far, he's continued to get better and better and better. This was not just Shai's turn. This was Shai taking the MVP award. He's truly improved his game this season with the element of the playmaking that he's added, how he's improved from beyond the arc, and especially creating those shots for himself beyond the arc. It's all built upon itself to get to this point. And you see that he does it on both ends. You cannot have the historically great defense, which is what's allowed the Thunder to find this spot, 68 wins and up 1-0 in the West Finals, without Shai being a quality defender. And I think that his defense is underrated. I think he's the best two-way star that you have in the league because of how exceptional that his offense is and where his defensive floor is. There's not any player for my money that can do that in the NBA and fit into what the Thunder are doing, because you can have a good defense with a bad defender. You cannot have a historically great one with a bad defender. And Shai would get a lot more recognition for his level of defense if he wasn't flanked by, some of the best defenders in the world. When you go down the list of Chet and JDub and Caruso and Cason Wallace and Lou Dort, etc. So I think that that's another underrated part of his game, that two-way nature of it. And Shai was just fantastic this season. He was fantastic today. And it's a shame that, throughout the start of the morning and the afternoon, the biggest talking point around Shai and around this team was fouls and free throws. And it shows why the NBA is in the spot that it's in, why the NFL is in the spot that it's in, and how the media is doing a horrendous job covering the NBA. We'll talk about all that coming up, including Matt Moore's bold take on JDub and Game 2 adjustments. But first one's here right now. But good friends over at FanDuel, go check out FanDuel today, because FanDuel is incredible. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers some highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts. Did you see that Pacers-Knicks game? Talk about major momentum shifts in that game. It's the can't-miss moments that we all love, whether it's game-winning shots or breakout players making breakout plays. There's never been a better time to get on the action than right now, and FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and with live bets, player props, performance trends, same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. So make sure that you go check it out today, because you could win $200 in bonus bets to add to your excitement if your first $5 bet hits. If you have a really good read on who's heating up, why not back that up with the same game parlay? You can parlay the spread with more on SGA points and really have a lot of fun at FanDuel. So go check it out today, because if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head over to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If that wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you talking Thunder basketball. Look, the Thunder blew out the Minnesota Timberwolves in game 1, and they start out 1-0 in the Western Conference Finals. And the only thing that people want to talk about is the free throws. And this has been 2 of, the 4 wins against Denver were via blowouts. And 1 win so far in a 1-game series to this point against Minnesota was a blowout. And the biggest talking point from this Thunder team has been the fouls. Hello? Last night, both teams committed 22 fouls. So how did OKC get away with so much? Because one of the biggest narratives is, will the Thunder do stuff that the other teams can't? Okay, the Thunder got called for 22 fouls against a team that jacked up 51 triples. Guess where you do not get fouled? At the three-point line. You do not get fouled at the three-point line, especially on open threes. But in general, the Cardinals' sin in basketball is fouling a three-point shooter. That's how rare it is, that it's so rare that when it does happen, you are exacerbated on how in the world you fouled the three-point shooter. So anytime you're taking 51 threes, you are surrendering your right to getting fouled and to getting free throws. You're just signing it away. But yet, the fouls were 22-22. Shai got to the free throw line 14 times. And the play that everyone has the biggest problem with, that's circulating all around and pointing and laughing at, is a play where he got tripped so obviously that before the ball leaves Shai's hands, the ref does the best job that he can in blowing the whistle and slamming his hand down toward the foot area and signaling that he was tripped. And that's the play people have a problem with, because they don't understand the sport that they cover, number one. Number two, because this entire discussion has gotten political. It's gotten political. It's left reality and went to the world of politics. Because no call for Shai is considered a good call, and every call against the Thunder is a beautiful call, and there's no video proof. There's no stats. There's nothing you can say to change these people's mind. They're not open-minded. They're closed off to the idea that perhaps Shai's not a free throw merchant and the Thunder aren't built on fouls. That perhaps they're just a really good team. Perhaps they're just a really good team at being disciplined defensively, and that Shai, who leads the NBA in drives, puts himself in position to be fouled because of his play style. Again, you do not get fouls by jacking up threes. You get fouls by getting to the rim. Shai gets to the rim more than anybody. Shai has a style of play that is herky-jerky, that is stop on a dime. He uses his strength to bump and create contact, and that contact puts you out of position. Now you're recovering into the play. You're recovering late. You're not disciplined with your hands, and you're able to foul him. Is there situations where Shai sells calls? There absolutely is. Is that the overwhelming percentage of his fouls? Not even close. Oftentimes, when he's purposely selling fouls, he doesn't get them. He gets a worse shot, and you actually get the rare stop on Shai and on that possession. So never mind the fact that OKC has called for more fouls than anybody in the regular season, and that trend's continued in the postseason. Never mind the fact that OKC as a team takes less free throws than anybody. Never mind the fact that Shai drives more than any player in this league, and that's where the fouls happen, is in the trees, in the paint, and at the rim. Never mind that in this game that you're complaining about, which was a blowout win for the Thunder, that if you gave all the free throws back, the Thunder still win. Never mind those facts, that you only care about your feelings. Your feelings got hurt because your team lost. Your feelings got hurt because a player that you don't like had success. Your feelings got hurt because the small market Thunder are just better. They're just better. Because it's so funny that you can tell how blatantly obvious that people are with their biases when 5 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, 12 weeks ago, people were screaming to the ether, racing for microphones, tapping on their keyboards, and pleading with the universe that this isn't going to go on much longer. You rascals in Oklahoma City will get your comeuppance in the playoffs when the whistles change, and it's really going to hurt the Thunder, which was obviously always a faulty narrative because the Thunder get called for more fouls and get less free throws than anybody. They're not changing anything, and now that that's been proven to be the case, now you've spun it into, well, Shai's just a free throw merchant. And somehow the league is letting little Oklahoma City dictate things. Somehow the league is in the pocket of little Oklahoma City, the smallest market in the league that's actually relevant. I know that New Orleans is smaller. They're irrelevant, and they have been their whole existence. Memphis can be considered smaller. They haven't done anything. Like the smallest market in the league that the NBA could possibly rig it for, that's who they've picked to rig it for. That's who they've picked to try to give the benefit of the whistle to. I'm sure. It's because you're wrong. It's because you don't know basketball. You don't understand what you're watching, nor do you try to. And you just simply don't like the Thunder. And you don't like Oklahoma City. And you don't like Shai for whatever the reason. It would be 1,000 times better if all these people complaining would just say, you know what? He's not a free throw merchant. The Thunder don't get away with murder. I just don't like him. Because that'd be okay. You just don't like him. And that's fine. But where the league has a problem and why you see where the NFL is king sport and the NBA ratings have dropped my entire life is because of the idiotic media out there that has the platform that consistently throughout my entire lifetime tells you that the NBA is worse now than it's ever been. Never mind the fact it has more talent pound for pound, more talent league-wide, and more talent on every single roster per capita than it ever has had. But because it's not done exactly how it was done in the 80s, because fouls are not called exactly how they were in the 80s, it's a worse product, it's a worse league, and you shouldn't watch it. If you tell people that over and over and over again, they're going to believe you. If the people entrusted to guard the sport and sell the sport are selling you on this league sucks, why do you think nobody's watching it? Because the people who are trying to get you to watch it are the ones telling you not to. Guess what you could do? Guess what you could do in the 80s? You could not ride around with a seatbelt on. Like you could be unfastened, no seatbelt required. Guess what you can't do nowadays? You got to wear your seatbelt. You got to. It's a law. Is driving worse now? Does it really pain you to get into your car now and say, this ain't what it was back in my day when you could really just unbuckle at your freedom and never buckle in and never strap in? No, because we've evolved. Yes, do players flop? Do players gain the benefit of the whistle? And is it harder now to defend because the athletes are so great that it's hard to stay in front of them and be disciplined and play with your hands and you not play with your hands and show yourself to the ball, right? And stay in front and do all the little fundamental things. Is it harder now to do that against these excellent world-class athletes? It absolutely is. Is it inherently worse than it was before? No. But yet that's all you're being sold. And that's where the difference is in the NFL and the NBA. What Doris Burke did in game one is despicable. It really is. To mutter the phrase free throw merchant on your broadcast is terrible. What Richard Jefferson did yesterday is deplorable. Like to continue to say, yeah, I played in this league. These are obvious fouls, but you know what? They're selling them, and this is terrible. Like the NFL would never do that. What do NFL fans think? Like, what does the conspiracy theorists NFL fans do to the greatest sport in these United States of America in terms of TV ratings and popularity? They claim that it's rigged for Kansas City. It's rigged for another flyover state in Kansas City, Missouri. It's rigged for Patrick Mahomes. Yet they keep watching every Sunday. You want to know why? Because that's a vocal minority on social media who've conjured up this ability to cope for losses to their favorite team at the expense of the Chiefs with this clinging notion of, well, it's obvious. The Chiefs it's just rigged for the Chiefs. Just like it was obvious. Like the Patriots are cheating. Clearly, they're just cheating and they're just a bunch of no good, dirty, rotten devils in New England. But what has the NFL media, especially its partners who are in bed with the league, never done? They've never given credence to the league being rigged. Could you imagine Tony Romo, Troy Aikman, Chris Collinsworth, Mina Kimes? Could you imagine Dan Orlovsky? Could you imagine the respected NFL media going on one of their television partners and saying, yeah, it's rigged for the Chiefs? I mean, it's rigged for the Chiefs. No, they wouldn't dare give credibility to Twitter weirdos who hide behind fake avatars and make up conspiracy theories to make themselves sleep better at night because their piece of laundry lost a game. They just wouldn't do that. Now, do the Chiefs get calls that are inherently wrong? They absolutely do. Does Shai get calls that are inherently wrong? He absolutely does. But why doesn't the NFL media speak on it? It's not because they're scared of the shield. It's because, hello, they're smart enough to watch their sport and see that blown plays and blown calls happen in every single game. It's not it's not only to the Chiefs or for the Chiefs. It's not only to Shai and the Thunder. It's everybody league-wide, and every single game you see bad calls, and bad calls happen. But they don't dare dismiss the heights of Mahomes and the Chiefs to just the league is rigging the penalties for them, because they're competent at their job, because they do their homework and they study the league and they say, you know what? Yeah, there's missed calls everywhere because I watch the sport that I cover. I don't just sit there shaking in a corner talking about Michael Jordan, right? Talking about, Johnny Unitas, right? Like they watch the sport and they like the sport and they study the sport. Because if you had any of these facts that I just laid out for you on the Locked On Thunder podcast, you would know this notion that Shai's a free throw merchant and that the league is rigged for little old Oklahoma City is complete and utter cow manure. You would know that for a fact. But they don't do that. These fly-by-night, just complete and total lacking work ethic at their job people come in with a massive platform and scroll through Twitter and say, okay, what are people talking about? That's what I'll talk about so I can get attention. There it is right there. That's what I'll do. I'll just lean into this crowd. They don't do that in the NFL because the league would not allow it to happen. And this is on the NBA. You have control of how your sport's talked about. And you continue to promote, prop up, and platform people who hate your sport. And this is what you get. Fake narratives, false narratives that are just outright wrong being put out there and shoved in front of you. I don't think anybody has the higher ground because, again, I think that every star does flop. If you really cared about flopping, though, like Jalen Brunson would be treated the way that Shai's treated. Why is he not, though? Oh, because, a lot of the media likes the New York Knicks. Funny how that works, right? So they don't really care, is what I'm telling you. They don't care about flopping. They care about their own personal biases and running with trends. Because this has happened to every single star. It happened to Joel Embiid when he won his MVP. It happened to James Harden when he won his MVP. It's happened to Chris Paul and Trae Young. And the higher up you go on that list of talent is the higher the conversation heats up. The vast majority of Shai's free throws are legitimate. He does sell calls and flop, and he does get the benefit of that too. But the vast majority of them are legitimate. So much so that if you take every MVP since 2000, he's 12th on the free throw attempts per game list. Of every MVP since 2000. Oh yeah, who's he behind? Joel Embiid, Shaquille O'Neal, Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, AI, James Harden, Giannis, KD, Kobe, right? Like Westbrook won the award in part because he didn't flop the way James Harden did. And he still had more free throws than Shai. It's not about reality. It's about narratives and feel good. What makes people feel good to try to justify that the Thunder are good? Should we put the work in to try to study and understand what makes the Thunder good? Or should we just dismiss it and run with narratives that makes it easier not to do our jobs? The lazy national media will always pick the latter. Shai dictates the whistle by being an excellent player with his strength, with his footwork, with his ability to stop on the dime. He's not hooking your arm. He's not doing these rip throughs, right? He's not changing the sport in that way. Again, are there calls that he should not get? 1,000%. Is there times where he flops? 1,000%. We ripped him on this show after game 3 in Denver, and you can go back and check the tape. We ripped Shai on this show because the last possession of regulation, he's hunting a foul instead of hunting a good shot for the win in a playoff game. It happens, but it happens so singularly that you can point to exact plays where it happens. You can point to exact receipts where it happens. And you got to talk about it. So I'm not saying that Shai's never in his life flopped. Quite the opposite. He does what butters the bread of NBA star scorers in this league. And this is the league now. And guess what, folks? It's been the league for at least a decade and a half. This is what basketball is now. If you don't like it, don't watch it. If you think the NFL is rigged for the Chiefs, don't watch it. But you better understand it, and you better understand how these people are outright lying to you and deceiving you and not putting the work in. And that's what I think it's tiresome, is the people who have, like Doris Burke, platforms and opportunities that like everyone would kill for, and then they don't put the work in to do so. The fact that Free Throw Merchant was muttered on a Western Conference Finals broadcast is insane. Insane. Under any context, it's insane. That's crazy. That's crazy. And you got to give credit where it's due. There are people out there that do put the work in, like, Tim Legler, like who was on the ESPN2 broadcast and did not get the main broadcast. Tim Legler did not. He was on the alternate broadcast, and yet he's their very best in terms of work ethic, in terms of understanding the game. Like Tim Bontemps and Tim McMahon and Brian Windhorst and Zach Lowe, like guys like that who are excellent, but a few bad apples spoil the bunch. Brendan Hayward, Mavs legend, rim rocking on that trade from Washington. I'll never forget where I was whenever he got traded from Washington to Dallas. I was so excited. He went on NBA TV today and really totally went in on this notion of it being wrong, that Shai's considered a free throw merchant. So there are good media out there, But by and large, there's a lot of lazy media out there too. And that's the one peddling this. That's the one selling this. And that's why the sport's where it's at. I think that, you would be wise to look at how this sport's covered, then go tune into NFL coverage, even right now, this second, when there's no topics to talk about, how they sell you on the sport. It's as simple as going back and watching like a Jaguars Titans pregame show. They would have you believe that the Jaguars in mustard yellow and the Titans in this despicable teal on a color rush Thursday night was the biggest thing that's ever happened in the NFL 30 minutes before that game kicks off. Then you sit down and realize this is a disgusting product. This isn't very good football. This is 2 7-win teams, and football was actually better whenever Peyton Manning was out there and whenever we were in the early aughts, but you would never know that because the current NFL media guards the game, protects the game, evolves with the game. They don't sit there and lament big hits and, they don't sit there and lament, you just got knocked out, whatever that segment was on Monday Night Countdown. I can't remember now. Jacked up. You just got jacked up. What a core memory unlocked. They don't sit there and reminisce about that. They move forward. They move onward because they like their job. They love their sport. And they love to do their job. And too many people in the NBA space don't love to do their job. And too many people in the NBA space can't do their job because they have an impossible ability to remove personal biases, whether that's to the team that they cover, whether that's to an individual they just happen to not like. They cannot do it. They cannot do it. There's teams I don't like. There's players I don't like. You would never know it because that's the job that you're getting paid to do. It is really just disheartening for you, the listener, to have so many people spoon feeding you just wrong information. Coming up, we'll talk about Matt Moore's bold take on the MVP of the Western Conference Finals and adjustments for game number 2. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Let's hit Matt Moore's bold take for the Western Conference Finals.
I think Jalen Williams is winning Conference Finals MVP. I think he is going to be so good in this series that he's going to outshine Shai, and he's going to be the guy that wins Conference Finals MVP when the Thunder advance.
That was Matt Moore on Locked On NBA, and I of course, watch the show live because you watch it every day. It's a great show. It's every single day talking national NBA basketball with people that actually watch the sport. And every time it plays, I just love Doug Branson and his pulling his best Bill Simmons impression whenever Anthony Bennett's drafted. Whoa! Like that was a take worth a whoa. And, will he win the Western Conference MVP award? This was before game 1, and JDub, to his credit, had a great second half. I think that Matt Moore's onto something. Now, I don't know if he'll win the MVP, but I think Matt Moore's onto something. I think that the dam is about to break on JDub because throughout these playoffs, right, the first round against Memphis, he had a great series. And the Thunder swept Memphis just like they swept New Orleans, and it was all about Series 2. Series 2, the production was up and down, right? Second quarter and on of Game 7 was great. The Game 3 loss was spectacular. Game 2, he was good, and everyone was good. It was a Thunder blowout, right? So it was up and down with some really low lows after Game 6 and some really high highs in Game 7. But the consistent part of his series against Denver for Jalen Williams was his decision-making, was his ability to get to his spots better, was his ability to create shots for himself, and the ball just so happening to not go in the net. There was plenty of plays in that Denver series where if you just stopped the action, if you broke out the old TiVo remote and paused it, you would think that shot's going in. You would think that's the exact shot JDub wants. That's the exact shot that we've watched him shoot throughout the 82-game regular season that made him an all-star. That's what it is right there, and that's where his bread is buttered. And the ball just didn't go in. So I do think that when you give a player of JDub's caliber those opportunities, eventually the production's going to follow. And we've now seen back-to-back games where while it wasn't a consistent 48 minutes, it's hard to do 48 minutes of great basketball in the playoffs. Eventually that production did come and he helped the Thunder win games. And Matt Moore's point is correct. I think that even more so than game one, you will see Minnesota force the ball out of Shai's hands. I think that they're going to have to go back into their zone defense against SGA and the Thunder as soon as game two. And that opens the pathway for more JDub success. It would be unprecedented if JDub is this good this fast and he's a Western Conference Finals MVP because he's so excellent and helping the Thunder get to the finals. But this entire run, this entire season has been unprecedented. His entire career to date has been unprecedented. So it's possible. I like the bold prediction from Matt Moore, and I think that there's logic behind it. Because Matt Moore's watched the games. Matt Moore's watched the Thunder. Matt Moore has seen what we've seen. Funny how that works. Funny how that works. Go check out Locked On NBA every single day, talking about the league at large. Check out Locked On Nuggets for Matt Moore. They're in off-season mode. And check out Locked On Thunder every single day. We've ran over the time limit. We have a strict time limit nowadays. We will have a bonus show after shoot-around tomorrow morning to discuss adjustments for Game 2. But for now, enjoy Shai winning MVP, the foul discourse, and a bold Matt Moore take that just might come true. We'll talk to you tomorrow after shoot-around. Until then, be good and be good to one another.